The next bill on the calendar for the day is House File 3526. The clerk will report the bill.
House File number 3526, number 2 on the calendar for the day, an act relating to consumer protection, the first engrossment.
To the author of the bill, the member from Scott, Representative Tabke.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker and members. So today we have a consumer protection bill in front of us. Last year we passed a price gouging standard that was passed and has become law in Minnesota. And over the last summer, when we had excessive amounts of rain and storms and a lot of natural events occurred that had considerable damage to homes and businesses throughout the state of Minnesota. And so the insurance industry came to me with an idea that we need to make sure to add the tree trimming and mitigation services to the price gouging standard to make sure that we are not being charged excessively for mitigation during storms and during seasons and during acts of emergency. And so that is the bill, Madam Speaker, and I'm really proud to have bipartisan support for this and look forward to any questions.
There's an amendment at the desk. The clerk will report the amendment.
Tabke moves to amend House File number 3526, the first engrossment. The amendment is coded A3.
I recognize the author of the amendment, Representative Tabke, who will explain the amendment.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. And this amendment is adding definitions to the bill that will match what is passing in the other body.
Discussion on the amendment. Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and Representative Tabke. Could you please outline for us these changes, the impacts to the underlying bill, and why this is a good idea beyond what the other body is doing?
Representative Tabke.
Yes, Madam Speaker and Representative Schultz. So this, as you can see here, adds additional definitions so that there's more clarity in the bill, and and I'm perfectly good with the way to go on this. It adds business that provides service to prevent further damage to property following a fire, smoke, water, or storm event. Services include but are not limited to board up of property, water extraction, drying, smoke or odor removal, cleaning, and personal property inventory removal and storage. So that just adds further definition to the bill to make sure that we're getting this right.
Further discussion. Seeing no further discussion, all those in favor of the amendment say aye. Aye. Those opposed say nay. The motion prevails and the amendment is adopted. Third reading, right? There are no further amendments at the desk. The clerk will give the bill its third reading.
Third reading, House File number 3526, as amended.
Third reading is amended. Discussion. Representative Schultz.
Thank you, Madam Speaker and members, for the discussion on this bill. As we know, there was a brand new piece of statute put into place following the last session as it relates to price gouging, a concern that we hear across our communities. But today I rise with some concern as it relates to this legislation and concern for the specific written language of this bill that I don't believe brings about the right amount of humility as it relates to small businesses and people who provide these services in tree trimming or restoration services. My specific concern, members, is it does not matter which part of the state you are in. When we experience a natural disaster, there is no way to predict or to show the amount of people who are in business doing restoration services or tree trimming and the price that they are working at in that moment. In addition, when we're considering a natural disaster occurring in any one of our communities, there certainly are people who may come into our communities after a natural disaster, and I believe that this bill, as presented, is too ambiguous to those small businesses and could result on unfair and undue burdens and penalties on small business owners. I'm specifically referencing the notion in the underlying statute related to 60 days prior to a natural disaster. Concern where someone who may be operating a tree trimming business may not be doing business in that community or at all 60 days prior to a natural disaster. And so it's very difficult for us in law to define exactly what the rate or the cost would be based upon 60 days, which is in the underlying statute. That's my concern as it relates to this bill, and a reason why I'll be voting no today. Doesn't mean that the premise isn't right. It doesn't mean that we don't have the opportunity to fix this. But my understanding of the bill and the implications, whether for businesses that operate in the community where there is a natural disaster, or whether it's for businesses that come from outside, could result in undue burden and future penalties that could result in fewer tree trimmers and people who are doing cleanup services not choosing to do business within a place that has had a natural disaster. So that is why I'll be voting no today. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Further discussion. Representative Heintzman.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Representative Tabke, I too am going to have some things, some concerns to share with you all today. And I know that, Representative Tabke, your heart is in the right place. I have been known to put on a set of tree spikes from time to time and to work in this field. And I just want to share what you could be setting up the people of Minnesota for should there be a need for folks to come in and to do work in this subject area. And having seen on many, many occasions, 2015 was the last big event in my county, Crow Wing County, and during that time we had huge straight line winds and we had lots and lots of damage to homes throughout that area where that storm impacted. In fact, the governor even came and very graciously spent some time, toured the area. We were up in a helicopter taking a look at the damage, and it was, as I said, severe. And one of the real challenges that homeowners had during that time, Representative Tackey, was trying to get a home, say, for example, a tree hits, you now have storms coming in, which is typical, one on top of another, and you have a tree or another piece of debris from trees that comes through, damages a roof. And if you don't have folks to come in there immediately, now what do you have? You got water damage that could far exceed the actual structural damage, and now homeowners are left going, I can't get any help. If this language becomes law, they could very easily be in a situation where they cannot get help. And I hope that the body understands that during these kinds of events, costs go up. In many cases, you got folks doing this kind of work that they're trying to up-hire, they're trying to get staff to come in and to be there on those job sites, and that can be more costly. And so I understand the objective and what we're working towards, but I hope that there might be another way to get at the issue of gouging, because that is a concern. I don't disagree with that, but at the same time, this bill should in some way acknowledge that there are cases where you have these things come into a community, these kinds of storms and other things that damage homes, and you could unfortunately be causing trouble down the road. And I just want to put that out there. I believe that the motivation behind this bill is right, but it might need some work as it moves forward. Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Any further discussion? Seeing no further discussion, the author of the bill, Representative Tackey.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker and members, and thank you for the discussion on this bill. And so with this, it is not simply, Representative Heintzman, is not simply charging emergency fees or things like that. It is unconscionable price gouging that we're talking about today. And it's really important that we understand that. We heard in committee examples of folks getting charged $80,000+ to have a few trees removed post-storm. We heard examples in committee where people were charged $56,000 for other trees and water mitigation that were just simply unconscionable and beyond what is a normal fee to be charged in these types of situations. And so I'm really proud of this consumer bill that will take and protect folks. It will help protect everybody across the state of Minnesota because it will reduce the amount of really large tree trimming claims and water and mitigation claims and move that forward. So I just appreciate everyone's green vote on this bill.
The clerk will take the roll. Will the chief clerk will the chief clerk call the members voting remotely?
Smith.
Smith votes aye.
Smith votes aye.
The clerk will close the roll. There being 89 yeas and 40 nays, the bill passed as amended and its title agreed to.